This episode of InCamp Podcast is brought to you by Bird Dog Custom Woodwork. A friend of mine and his buddy have started a business, and they are all about anything you can build from wood, from cabinets to cutting boards to cool heirlooms. I even have a pheasant mounting plaque that I got to hang a tail from one of the hunts I took my daughter on this year, and it's an awesome memory to have on my wall. You need to check them out on Instagram at Bird Dog Custom Woodwork. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the show. You're listening to InCamp Podcast, the show where we talk all hunting, all fishing, all the hard-earned lessons that keep us coming back season after season. I'm your host, Aaron Hepler. Today, our guest, I've actually been really looking forward to talking to her for quite some time. She is the editor-in-chief of Gundog Magazine, the editor-in-chief of Backcountry Hunter Magazine, the host of Wild Upland TV, and she knows how to get it in the field. Kali Parmley. This is a pretty awesome conversation. You know, there is some political talk at the end, and I hope you do something about it. We really don't have a whole lot of news about what's happening with this yet, but we do touch on the greyhound bill in this episode at some point in time. So check that part out. But you are going to learn so much from Kali's experience and stories in the field. She's got a lot of fun ones. She just loves spending time with her dogs and her friends and doing the things that she was born to do. So enjoy this episode. This is InCamp Podcast. I am here with, I believe, your chief editor, correct?
Yeah, editor-in-chief, yep.
Editor-in-chief, a TV host, a public land advocate, and most importantly, in my opinion, master upland hunter. I don't think she'd say that because she's a humble person. Kali
I don't know about
Parmley.
that. I'm an avid upland hunter for sure.
Avid master, whatever. It's, is there anybody that's really a master of the uplands I feel like you're learning all the time.
You're definitely learning all the time. And if you're not learning, then you should be.
Yeah. Kali, it's great to have you. I'm saying it is Kali, right? Not
Yep,
Kaylee.
Kali.
Kali.
Yep,
Okay.
like California.
So why don't you tell me, like, I think I got all your titles right, but you're the editor-in-chief for Gundog Magazine, correct?
Yep, editor-in-chief of Gundog Magazine, and then also the publisher of Gundog, and the host of Wild Upland, which airs on the Outdoor Channel and YouTube.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on. I started this podcast as a way to really talk about versatility in hunting. Like you can see behind me, there's deer antlers and feathers and turkey, all this stuff. And I kind of, caught your social mostly because of YouTube, and I was, watching some bird dog stuff and pointing stuff, and your Wild Upland TV show came on, and I'm like, man, this is a good show. And I was watching an episode with my wife on your dog Lincoln, and I told her I had to bring it up, and I had to call her out because she cried the entire the entire show. But it's really, hunting over a dog is something that's super special to me, even though I like to do everything, and you highlight it so well. And I think there is nothing more unique than getting to hunt behind a dog with whatever it is, especially in the uplands.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's really the reason I wanted to have you on. But, while we're kind of getting into this, why don't you just tell where did you grow up? We kind of talked a little bit off air, but why don't you talk about your background in hunting and where it started for you?
Yeah, I actually grew up in rural Ohio, so I grew up, my high school had cornfields around it. I grew up very outdoorsy, grew up on a farm, but I didn't grow up hunting.
Mm-hmm.
And I came into that later in life in my early 20s. But I did grow up very, I was a horseback rider, trail rider. My grandpa actually did have English setters. He raised and trained English setters, but I had nothing to do with that besides a summer gig. I would ride his trialing horses to keep him in shape. I had no idea what he was doing with those setters, but I was around them my whole life. But it wasn't until later in life, out of college, I went to school for journalism, and I knew I wanted to be the editor of something. I didn't know it would be a hunting magazine later, but first job out of college was with the U.S. Sportsman's Alliance, and someone there took me turkey hunting, and it was a run and gun turkey hunt. It was so fun. I still remember it to this day. Didn't kill a turkey, but it was just very interactive, crawling around, covered up in turkeys all day. And that truly sparked something inside of me. And I knew I would enjoy making, I already felt like I was outdoorsy. And so to me, hunting is just an extension of being outdoorsy. And so I really kicked it off from there, but it wasn't until I got Lincoln that I really became an upland bird hunter. And I credit him fully with making me a bird hunter, because without him, I would have never have gotten into the uplands and the passion behind bird hunting.
Yeah, isn't it funny how the dogs you get a dog with an idea that, yeah, I'll kind of hunt with the dog, but the dog's really what gets you sparked about it.
Oh
It's
yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah. Yeah, it truly was him. It was seeing him come alive and his passion for it into something that we could do together and learn together. And that made me an upland hunter and led me to where I am today. And now I've got two more bird dogs. So kind
Yeah.
of sparked a little bit of obsession, I would say.
Yeah, so that was kind of similar for me. I had a beagle growing up, and I didn't really hunt with her. She was kind of just a family dog. My brother and my dad did because they liked rabbits, right? But until I was in college, then I got my own bird dog, and it was like, well, then I can hunt pheasants, and it'll kind of be like a backdoor thing.
Yeah.
And initially, when you have a dog, you're like, well, we'll go hunting, and then it's like, well, I should take her hunting because you kind of feel guilty about it, and then you're like, could you get off that bed so we can go hunting?
Yeah, exactly. Yep, it was cool.
I think that's the other cool thing that you just mentioned in that story is about your turkey hunt. You said you didn't kill anything, but it was so fun for you to experience kind of just crawling around in the bushes and looking for the turkeys and doing all that kind
Hmm.
of thing. But I'm going to get to take my daughter turkey hunting this year. She was like, I said, there's a youth turkey hunt. I'm off. Do you want to go? And she said she wanted to go. And I'm thinking, okay, like, and she still wants to. So I'm getting all the things set up. And because I'm her dad, I want it to be kind of easy. Like, oh, let's go find like an easy turkey
Sure.
hunt. Turkey will come out in the field, kill a turkey. I don't know that it really needs to be that way.
Yeah, I would say make it as interactive as you can, as exciting as you can to get them hooked.
Yeah. But I talked to Travis Frank, and he said when I did a podcast with him, he said sometimes it just needs to be hard, and the learning part of it is, when I was a kid, we caught a lot of bluegills, and it was easy to like have that immediate success because you're pulling bluegills
Hmm.
out of a pond and that kind of thing. But I don't know that that's what really hooked me. I think it was getting to be outside with my grandfather, and
Hmm.
like you said, you didn't kill a turkey, but you still had a ton of fun. So it has to come from somewhere. And maybe that's the challenge. And I think um, that's obviously something that you shine at. Where does the challenge come in for you in the uplands?
Yeah, it's not about bag limits to me. It's not about kill, kill, kill. It's about the
Yes.
experience and being out there and behind my dog and trying out new areas and getting skunked and going back to proven areas and just working the landscape and looking it over on a map or with my own eyes and going, I think birds would be here because of XYZ, and just going for it. And whether that equals a nature hike with my gun or whether that ends up with birds in the bag, that's just part of the experience and what I love about it.
Yeah.
And just being out there makes me happy and fulfills me. And whether that be with just me and my dogs or me and friends, it's about the experience rather than making sure that something ends up in the bag on the way home. But I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, I like to tell people as long as I see birds, I call it a success. May not get to shoot one, but if I at least see a covey, that's a successful day to me.
Sure. It means you're in the right place at least.
Yeah.
What are some of your early memories with Lincoln and learning how to upland hunt?
Lincoln, he was a dog of a different color. He was a silver lab, and that I had been given a gift. He was given to me as a gift, and that was before I was really into bird dogs and understood breedings and everything. And it was just so happened to be that he was just natural. He was just naturally good at everything he did. And I don't just say that because he was my dog. He really was just naturally good at
Hmm.
everything. It was so easy training him, and he had such youthful presence about him. Even though he was a big lab, he was around 80 pounds and tall, and sometimes people would look at him and you could tell they were kind of giving him the side eye, like, that dog's not going to hunt. That dog can't hunt. And he would go out there and just crush it. And he could hunt all day long. He truly was remarkable. And so just those early days being with him and having him turn people's heads upside down to realize that he was one hell of a hunter was something that I was so proud of. I was so
Yeah,
proud
that's
of.
cool. I think my first bird dog was pretty similar. She didn't really come from a special breeder, and they didn't hunt with their dogs. They just had labs that they bred, and um, I think it's just the time that you end up spending with them.
Mm-hmm.
I I was single when I had her, or when I first got her, so she would ride in the car with me to go get coffee, or she'd go to the market with me, or whatever it happened to be. So I did everything with her, so
Mm-hmm.
it was easy to communicate with her in the field early on.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you find that was kind of the similar path for Lincoln on his natural ability?
Oh yeah, he was the dog that, was your most vital years of life where you're learning, you're growing, you're in your first career, you're figuring things out, right? I was in my early 20s, and he was that dog that was there for everything. And so
Mhm.
he was there for both. I moved to Illinois for my job. I got a job at Peterson's Hunting Magazine. That's how I got in the magazine world. So he moved for that first move out of state, and then he moved to Utah, and he was just that dog that was always by my side through all the most important aspects of life. And so he and I had a bond that was very, very special and probably
Mhm.
could never be replicated, honestly.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I think uh every dog holds a special place, I think, but each one has its own. Do you think Lincoln is the reason that you got your foot in the outdoor industry, or was there something else that sparked that for you?
Um, my foot in the outdoor industry definitely started with the Sportsman's Alliance. I worked there for 4 years,
Mhm.
and got my foot in the door there, and I was a part of POMA, which is the Professional Outdoor Media Association, and because I did marketing for the Sportsman's Alliance, and then I'd go to SHOT Show, and I'd made friends with all these editors and marketing people, so that definitely got my foot in the door. And then the associate editor position at Peterson's Hunting Magazine opened up, and I knew I wanted to be in the journalistic realm rather than just the marketing communications. And so I moved over, got hired at Peterson's, and that really started me in the magazine world. So
Mm.
I
Mhm.
was at Peterson's Hunting for 4 years, and then Gundog, which is under the same company, the editor of Gundog was retiring. And by this time I had gotten really into upland hunting, and they asked me if I wanted to take over Gundog. So that was the next step in the career. And I'm fortunate that I got to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you said you always kind of wanted to get into journalism. Is that what you went to school for?
Yeah, I went to school for photojournalism. Yeah. At first I
Very
thought I
cool.
wanted to work for newspapers, and then I decided I didn't really want to do that. And I knew I wanted to do something. I knew I wanted to be a magazine editor. I never knew it would be end up being a hunting magazine, but here we
Yeah.
are.
You're pretty responsive as far as an editor goes. I've done a
All
little
out.
bit of outdoor, like, freelance writing for I did, like, blog posts for Exodus Trail Cameras for a while
Hmm.
before they closed, and then I a couple other, like, podcasts, and the Meat Eater. And you're very responsive. I think I have more emails from you than any other editor I've worked with.
Yeah, I don't dread. It's a pet peeve when people don't answer emails. I'm like, I know you've seen it. I
Yeah.
know you've seen it.
Well, we were having such a hard time getting this Riverside account to send you the correct time format.
Yeah.
Oh man.
An
Um,
8 a.m. podcast. I was like, can we move it to 10 a.m., please?
yeah, I've done an early one before. I did one at 5 a.m. and I needed a lot of coffee for that one.
Yeah.
I'm
Actually, I
not
did one
that
at 5 a.m. for Bob St. Pierre too. So, Bob,
okay.
if you're
Well,
listening, I did one for Bob at 5
yeah,
a.m.
okay. Well, Bob has a special place in the Pheasants Forever, so we'll allow it. uh, what was your first editing role was in Peterson's?
Peterson's Hunting Magazine, which is a big game magazine. So I got real
Yeah.
into, still am. I'm a big game hunter as well as a bird hunter.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of elk hunting, mule deer, antelope, you name it.
Now I listened to a podcast that you just did with Minnesota Bound Outdoors, I think.
Mhm. Mhm.
And you kind of told her that it's almost like the editing role at Gundog kind of not really fell in your lap. You obviously worked for it, but you kind of you kind of got, I don't want to say rushed into the position, but they made you fill shoes quick from what
Yeah.
it sounded
Oh,
like.
yeah. It was a quick fill position, and I hadn't done anything. I had actually written for Rick Van Etten was the old editor of Gundog, and uh, I actually found the magazine the other day with my first story for Gundog, and I was so excited to have it in there. But yeah, Rick was retiring, and so I didn't do. I was a Peterson's hunting. I was only in the big game world. I was not in the upland side, which it's very there. It's there's I figured out now that because I still do a big game magazine called Backcountry Hunter Magazine.
Yeah.
There's a very big difference in industries and people. So, anyways, I didn't know any of the writers for Gundog. I didn't know any of the contacts for bird dog people. Over here. I mean, you imagine all the marketing people for all the. I knew the shotgun people and the ammo people, but nothing for Garmin or
Mm.
Purina or what I'm saying. It's a
Sure.
very large difference. And so they threw me into the role and I was like, all right, buckle up, here we go. And so very fortunate the upland community is very open and welcoming and I was able to hop over there pretty smoothly, but there was definitely a big transition. And when you take over another magazine, like it has its ways, it has its writers, it already, it has things that it's been doing for many, many years. And so to come over and figure out how they normally do things and then suggest changes change is a scary thing to people. And,
Yeah.
but when I took over Gundog, it was kind of my task to, Gundog used to just be the 80-page typical kind of flimsy magazine. They wanted it to be the new 120-page large format perfect bound magazine. And that's a big change
Hmm.
and to figure out how to do that and find the right writers and photographers and make that design change was definitely a task that took a little bit. So
Yeah. Uh, that's pretty cool. I do find that with the upland community versus big game hunting. I feel like, especially when if we talk about deer hunters, everybody's familiar with deer hunters. Everybody wants to know why you're a good deer hunter and how you found the deer, minus your waypoints, right?
yes, yes,
Up
exactly.
Upland hunters, you're like, narrow it down to the county, maybe even like the
Send
piece
me
of
a pin.
public. Yeah, like,
Send me a pin.
yeah, and everybody's so open to like, this is the best gear to use that's going to work really well for your dog, and you know tips on, yeah, there's so much that the upland hunting community is a little bit more open about than the big game community.
Yeah,
But there is kind of like a whole different, because a lot of this stuff for dogs is kind of even away from hunting. Like when you're talking about, some people do bird
yeah,
dog trials and don't hunt.
yeah. Well, and it's I feel like the bird dog products are kind of normally smaller manufacturers
Yeah,
and trying to get a hold of the guys who kind of maybe running out of their garage can be hard sometimes.
yeah,
So it's definitely a different community, not in a bad way. I'm just saying that's two very separate communities. It's two very separate industries. And I had been working in the big game world for almost 5 years, and maybe a little bit longer than that because of Sportsman's Alliance. So I had to learn the game over here and figure out a whole different side of the industry. So
yeah. As you were kind of trying to figure those things out in the writing world, the editing world, did you have a lot of mentors along the way, or do you feel like you just had to kind of ask questions to people you weren't really sure about?
no, I definitely had mentors. I mean, my boss, my first boss, Doug Jenneret, he was amazing. He is the director of the Kids and Clays Foundation now, which
Hmm.
is a nonprofit that runs Ronald McDonald House clay shoots to raise money for Ronald McDonald House.
Cool.
He was so beneficial in starting my career, and he's the one who helped me get hired at Peterson's because he knew Mike Scobie at the time was editor of Peterson's, and he really started me and pushed me to be better in every way possible in my writing. And then over a course, when I got hired at Peterson's, I worked with some of the best writers in the world, between Mike Scobie, David Draper, Andrew McKean, Joe Arterburn, like so many amazing, influential people who helped me get to where I am today. And I always credit that with put your head down, do the work, be humble,
Yeah.
and you're going to go far.
What do you think those people taught you? I think the hardest thing as a writer initially is kind of getting past the red ink. What do
Hmm.
you think those mentors taught you about getting past that red ink?
Well, I mean, I'm working with some of the best and the people who had been in this industry forever, who had been writing for big publications for many, many years. And so for them, their suggestions, the red lines aren't just a suggestion; they're a learning moment. And
Hmm.
so to look at what they say and do, and even read the stuff that they write and take in. I don't want to say mimic it; that's not the right word, but read what they write and learn from it. They're
Yeah.
good for a reason, and they've made it this far for a reason. And to take their suggestions and listen. Some people,
Yeah.
I've had people write for me who don't. They always say editors make writers better, and
Hmm.
that's it's sometimes we get stuff in and our little suggestions help make your writing go farther, and it's not to take your voice away, but it's just to help improve it a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. There, and I think that was one thing I had to get over was like, well, if I change that, then it changed the whole article, but it really
Hmm.
didn't, you know,
Yeah.
and
No
I
one's
have,
yeah, no one's first draft is perfect. And if you
no,
think it's perfect, then you're in the wrong industry, you know? No
no, and
writer's first draft is ever good without having a couple eyes on it and
yeah,
suggestions.
yeah, and I was homeschooled and didn't go to college for writing, so you know.
I still send my writing to my friends when I'm about to do something to my buddy David, and I say, put a red line to this, or I send it to my friend Natalie and I'm like, edit this, like none
Yeah,
of it's perfect. None of it's
yeah,
perfect.
yeah, and kind of like you, uh, the kind of in the world of AI, it's it's almost easy now to start recognizing who's using AI and who's not because it
Yeah.
just doesn't sound real, and it's
Yeah.
not from. You can tell when it's not from a person, and I kind of despise that when I'm reading things. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
want to hear
I
from the
I
person.
I don't want to. I can't even suggest. I don't even want to go into the AI debate right now. But be your own voice. Don't rely on
Yeah,
a computer.
yeah.
Be
Like,
your own voice.
yeah, yeah. The only thing I end up using it for is punctuation because that's what I need it for. Um, what about the shift to the Upland TV? You had a little resistance to that, didn't you?
I did. I didn't want to do. I didn't want to do a TV show. I did Peterson's hunting TV, and which was great. It was fine, but it adds a very different element and pressure to a hunt to
Sure.
have to kill something basically to make sure you get an animal down. And I was told you're going to do a gun dog show, and I said no, I'm not. They were like, yeah, you are. And I said, okay, well, if we're going to do it, then we're going to do it my way, and it's going to be about wild birds and the
Yeah.
dogs and um, hunting public places. And I mean, and we can hunt private too, but it's going to be wild birds. That's going to be the point. It's going to be wild birds. It's going to be really, really hard to capture a wild bird hunt.
Hmm.
It's not like where you go and you can get in front of the dog's face and get this beautiful point on camera, right? Because we're hunting wild birds. And so I said, okay. And it's going to be about the people, the places, the dogs. And I think we've captured that very well. I think we've done a good job with making sure we showcase that it's not about just loading a tailgate with birds. It's about the experience.
The thing that I've found the most appealing about your show is the places that you go
Yeah.
and the people that you're hunting with. The first of all, the scenery and the places you're going are just amazing. And I've been in some of those places and you can't really bottle them up, but you guys have done such a good job at showcasing them and it's
Thank you.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, they do a good job. I've got a great camera crew.
Yeah. Um so how about uh, who who kind of really other than your dog, who really introduced you to upland hunting?
I had some mentors early on, who I was very fortunate. In the uplands, it can be an intimidating sport, even though I think bird hunting is like a good first sport for to
Yeah.
getting people into hunting. I think it can be
Yeah.
very intimidating. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, where do you start? you know, Between the guns and the gear and the dogs, but then you got the places like where are you going to go? And also you
Mhm.
have to walk with this firearm and shoot a flushing bird that's on the wing. Like it's all, even though it's great because it's a small game hunt, it's like really complicated. So I
Mhm.
was very fortunate that I had friends in the beginning who would take me hunting, and I just took in all the information that I could from them. And then of course I was big game hunting at the same time. And so I was learning even though it's two different types of hunts, it's still learning how to read landscapes and where to go and find public land and find camping. And
Yeah.
it was just a whole conglomerate of everything. And so I was very fortunate that I had people who could mentor me and help me. And that eventually gave me the confidence to do it by myself, and then
Yeah.
led me to mentor and help other people. But it took many years. I mean, I've been doing this only for a little over 10 years. So it
Yeah.
took a long time. I always tell people, you just got to be brave. I mean, I know it's kind of scary going out there by yourself, but the only way to learn is to do it. And
Absolutely. And I've talked about that so much. And the mentor thing for me is important. Not I've done it my whole life, so it's kind of I've learned by osmosis, like
sure, yeah.
I've started this stuff all when I was real, real little, but I've helped people get into it that are adults, and it's pretty crazy what you don't recognize that they might not know.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, you forgot your orange, dude. Like you kind of need that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know, like,
Yeah.
and they want to know what kind of gun to start with, but they don't even know where to look. That kind of thing is,
Well, I had someone say to me the other day, like, I want to get into bird hunting, and where I'm from, you can only sometimes shoot the hens, and then other times you got to shoot the pheasants. And it's like clearly some like he had no idea that, hey, you can
yeah.
only shoot roosters on wild roosters. And so it's like some people just absolutely know nothing about bird hunting, which is fine, but
Hmm.
it's you got to learn, and that requires normally a mentor, someone to
Yeah.
help you.
Yeah, especially if it's not something that you've just grown up into. The
Yeah.
other thing that I think is pretty wild, and I think you're going to be able to speak to this too, is you learn like how a deer uses a funnel or a train pinch or uses food to bed or whatever the pattern is, or maybe you glass for mule deer in the evening, whatever it is. For birds, like, well, pheasants prefer this, but a woodcock prefers this, and this
Yeah.
kind of bird, you know what I mean? What
Yeah.
kind of what was that kind of like a surprise to you that all birds were kind of different in what they preferred?
Yeah, I mean, and I'm still learning, honestly. But the one of the best pieces of advice I was ever given as when someone was mentoring me was what they're looking for: food, cover, and water, like three things. And so I
Mhm.
always think of that when going into every bird hunt. And of course, I
Mhm.
know some birds better than other birds, right? Like out here in the West, I hunt chukar and huns very avidly.
Mhm.
So I'm pretty good about understanding their habitat, but I'm still learning. Like this year, chukar hunting, I chukar hunt 3 or 4 times a week. There's sometimes I go out and I still get smoked by birds. Like this season was hard. It was really hard. Like I'm used to going as high as I can to find them, when really this year they were hanging out mid level. And I'm like, why
Mhm.
are they hanging out mid level? I'm trying to figure out, like, why are they doing that? And that's
Mhm.
after 10 years of hunting them. I still call myself the worst forest grouse hunter of all time. I cannot figure out forest grouse. Like, can find them one day and you're figuring out what they're eating, and you go back the next day and they're not there. It's like
Yeah.
it's just a game of figuring out what these birds want, when they want it, and that's all just part of the fun, though, to me. It's
Yeah.
still out
For-
there. I may not find birds sometimes, but it's still part of the experience, and I learn something new every time I'm out.
Yeah. And that's pretty cool. I think this year was kind of a strange year when so if you're talking about deer were all kind of not following their normal thing because we had drought throughout the country.
Hmm.
And that probably was something that even translated over to birds. And you don't think that that would be something that changes as long as they have the food, water, and cover. But there was something different about the weather patterns.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
that's uh that's that's pretty unique. But I also am not a very good forest grouse hunter, nor am I a good woodcock hunter. But
Yeah.
I think I missed like 10 or 12 woodcock this year, and I'm gonna shoot one day.
Well, those are very hard flying birds, so that's
Whew.
okay.
Uh, what about what about the pace of a pointer versus a flusher? Because I know that you
Hmm.
have pointing dogs now. What do you enjoy about the differences?
Yeah, with Lincoln, obviously he was a flushing breed, and so that was a breed you always have to be on the ready.
Hmm.
Your gun's closed at all times, and you know when he's birdie, obviously, but it's still a game of being ready at all times, which I enjoyed that. And Lincoln hunted more than just pheasants. He was a wonderful pheasant dog, but he hunted chukar, he hunted huns, and so it's just a completely different style
Hmm.
of hunting. And then when I got my first setter, Jones, course, he's a big ranging dog, and so it's kind of nice to crack the gun over your shoulder and just go on a hike until he finds birds for you, right?
Yeah.
So, same thing with my new young one, Trek. Just crack the shoulder and start hiking, and wait for them to comb the mountains and find something for you.
Yeah.
Um, I think you kind of get to be a I don't know what I want to call it, purist maybe. I like to shoot only birds that are pointed over
Hmm.
my setters, so sometimes you might get a wild flush that the birds had ran over or something. But my gun's cracked over my shoulder, so I'm not at the ready. But there's something to say about that feeling when you do get that beep on your
Yeah.
on my Garmin, and I look up to see one of them standing tall or both of them standing tall, and you know when they've got birds locked down.
It's one of the coolest and most beautiful animal instincts I think I've ever seen.
It's so cool. It's so cool.
I I think I still get to it. I'm so used to hunting over a flusher that I've probably shot not very well pointed birds.
Mm-hmm.
But I did do some woodcock training this year with him. The spring thing, and he's my little dog's pointing really well over those because they hold so tight. So it's pretty
Mm-hmm.
easy. It's pretty easy and a good way to get them a little bit steadier. So it's a
Sure.
little easier for me to have control over the gun. How would you suggest that people um, consciously think about the birds they're shooting? Because you're giving your dog more opportunities if you're shooting only birds that are pointed, because that
Mm-hmm.
means they just have to find another one. But you're also encouraging them to do what they're meant to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with pointing breeds, it's a will of patience on the hunter's part, because if it depends on what you want out of your dog. A lot of people, some people hunt and they want their pointer to point and flush,
Hmm.
and then other people hunt and they just want their dog to hold steady to shot and fall.
Hmm.
I'm personally a person who my dog is to hold steady through shot and eventually fall. That's why Jones is wearing that belly band. He's working on staying steady all the way through until I release him. But
Hmm.
anyways, you're teaching your dog, if you just start shooting busted birds over your pointing breed, what are you teaching him? You're teaching
Hmm.
him that he gets rewarded because he busted that bird.
Yep.
So it takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of willpower to not shoot when your dog maybe busts a bird, right? There were many times when Jones was 2 and 3 years old where he'd point for me and then he'd move his feet, which would cause that bird to bust. So I
Hmm.
had to know, don't shoot because you're rewarding him for the wrong
Hmm.
things. And now I'm doing the
Hmm.
same thing with Trek. Trek's a little ambitious 2-year old, and we're trying to remind that pointing is fun. And pouncing
Yeah.
is really fun, but pointing is even more fun. And
Yeah.
so, it just takes a lot
That's
of
what you think,
willpower.
Mom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, believe me, he tells me that all the time. So, it takes a lot of willpower to remind yourself that you are, yes, you're hunting, but you're also training. You're
Yeah.
also training.
Where do you find you get that willpower from? Because I can sometimes be a patient
Hmm.
person, but not always.
And I understand that too, that some people, like, maybe they get one hunt, as maybe a one Western hunt a year, like that's their vacation, right? And I
Yeah.
completely understand that. I
Yeah.
understand that this is your one hunt, you want to kill some birds. I
Hmm.
100% understand that. And um it just comes down to what you want out of your dog. And to me personally, I love nothing more than seeing my dog succeed. Yes,
Yeah.
me getting a bird in hand for them, I like to say it's for them, is phenomenal. But in the end, I'm rewarding them for their really good behavior. And honestly, like, uh, you know, 3, 4, 5 busted birds, and you don't shoot, that dog's going to learn. It's going to learn after that time. It knows its instincts are going to kick in that, oh, she's not shooting because I busted that bird, and all it takes
Yeah.
is one time for it to go right. And that
Yeah.
dog's going to connect the dots. So,
It is. It's pretty crazy. I have made like I think he kind of busted that one. I ended up
mm-hmm.
missing or not shooting at it. Two birds later, he's back to being like
Yeah,
a little bit
exactly.
more steady than he was the first time.
Yeah. This really comes down to young dogs. This is really important for a young dog. Jones is 5 now. And he understands, he's smart enough to know when he's made a mistake and I may have, because I get, like sometimes it just kind of is just naturally to raise your gun, right?
Hmm.
But he is smart enough to know, like, I probably shouldn't have done that. I won't do it the next time, but like Trek, he's only 2 right now. So it's important for me to make sure I don't shoot when it's not appropriate, because
Yeah.
he's learning. He's learning a lot of stuff and intaking a lot of stuff right now. Jones is at the age where he understands what he's supposed to do and what he's not allowed to do, and he has room for mistakes, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Do you find that you're understanding their body language pretty often? Because if you notice that the dog knows that it made a mistake, there's probably something that told you that. You're reading that pretty well.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Jones kind of looked back at me like, "Ooh, sorry." I'm like, "Yeah, I know, you know."
Yeah,
Yeah.
they also know when you miss. They get a little
Oh
miffed.
yeah.
If you were to plan an upland hunt,
Hmm.
and whether it could be public, private, whatever it is, what is your favorite upland planned hunt?
Well, I guess it would depend. Um, it depend on if I have people coming with me or not. But I would say I love going to Idaho and hunting both a mixture of chukar and huns.
Hmm.
um, because chukar is a leg burner, a lung burner, can be very, very rewarding, very beautiful country. And then
Hmm.
the Huns are, I find the Huns are really great for dog work and one of my favorite birds to hunt and eat. And they too provide these big, wide open, beautiful landscapes that are just amazing to run your dog over, run
Yeah,
this big open country. And so my ideal hunt is a chukar and hun hunt.
very cool. What is the toughest upland hunt that you plan?
Oh, the toughest upland hunt. Um, well, I mean, I think, a lot of people like to uh bump their chests and say mine's harder than yours. A lot of the chucker guys like to say they're the hardcore hunters. And chucker hunting is hardcore. I mean, I do it almost, 3 or 4 times a week. It is hard. It is very, very hard. But I don't know if you ever hunt a cattail slough in the middle of negative-degree weather in the middle of South Dakota. Your hip flexors start burning, you're cold, or walked through the Northwoods grouse woods and getting hit in the face every 2 seconds,
Hmm.
and trying to hit a bird on the wing through trees that are about this much spaced apart. So
Yeah,
I think everyone's hunt is as hard as they want to make it, and is each their own. And every hunt has its own toughness to it. And yeah,
yeah,
that's all I think. I like to make sure everyone knows that every upland hunt to me can be really, really hard.
yeah. It can be, and I I don't think I've ever been on an upland hunt where I was not satisfied at the end of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or
Every
have you
deer hunt.
ever, yeah, have you ever tried to hunt blue grouse in the middle of September? Walk, like hiking up these steep mountains, trying to catch your breath and trying to find these birds in the middle of nowhere. Like it can be tough. It can be really
Yeah,
tough.
I I haven't done that, but I when I was elk hunting in Colorado, there were grouse everywhere, and I can imagine chasing a dog at that elevation would not
Hmm.
be any kind of easy feat.
Well, what's funny about that is I too see grouse when I'm elk hunting, and then when I go to chase them with my dogs, I don't see them anymore. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's funny because they're kind of everywhere when you're elk hunting. I don't know what it
yeah,
is,
and
but
then they disappear. And then they disappear.
they're so good though. When I was there, one of my buddies ended up shooting one with his bow, and we cooked it in the
Hmm.
in the fire in the tent, and it was so delicious. I don't know if
Really
it's
good.
because
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because we were so hungry and tired of eating peak refuels or
That was
or
that
what.
was definitely the reason why it was good.
Some of those peak refuels pretty good. They
They
nobody.
are good, but there's something to say about fresh meat, that's for sure.
Yeah, for
That's how
sure.
I was on caribou hunt. I hunted caribou a few times in Alaska, and if I had to eat one more dehydrated meal, I was
Do
all for
you
the fresh meat.
do you have a favorite one?
I love mountain houses. Their chicken fajita bowl, and I don't know if you ever had just their chicken and mashed potatoes. It is
Yeah, that one's
bomb.
good. Yeah, that one's
It's
good.
so good.
Yeah. It's like is that's the one that's kind of like the KFC bowl, right? It's
Yeah,
just
it is
like yeah,
so good.
yeah, yeah. I did like the peak refuel like coconut chicken curry or something. That was
Hmm.
pretty good.
Yeah, Peak Refill has some really good ones.
Yeah, it's kind of funny at elevation things don't always taste the same. And I don't know if it's When I was there, I ended up taking Diamox for altitude sickness or
Oh
to
yeah,
prevent it or whatever. And I guess that changes the flavor and taste of some things. So some
I
things
could
were
see
kind
that.
of,
Yeah.
yeah, some things were kind of, ugh. What do you think the biggest challenge to, uh, you kind of alluded to this, but what is the biggest challenge of trying to film a TV show on public land with wild
Hmm.
birds and dogs?
Um. Well, one, finding wild birds. Like it's like most of the time I'm fortunate enough to hunt with my friends and people who I know we're going to places, we're sharing our secret spots of to find birds. Um, Trying to cave expectations, like we might find one cubby today, we might find none, and there
Yeah.
is a little bit of pressure to make sure that we find birds because you're trying to make a TV show, right?
Hmm.
Um, but also trying to capture the the wild birds on camera. I'm fortunate to have a camera crew that understands when I say the dog's on point, we got to go. Like
Yeah.
we got to get
Yeah.
up there. These birds could sit, they may not sit. There have been times. You know how wild bird hunting goes. Like
Yeah.
they see you coming over a rise and they're gone, or they sit tight and play the game right.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, trying to just capture the true and raw, authentic. And we're not afraid to show the misses, the
Yeah.
hits, everything in
Absolutely.
between. We're not lying about anything. So but yeah, and just trying to show that it's funny. We do normally have two guys with us because my point is like I don't care about seeing me shoot. What I care
Hmm.
about is like get my dog on point because look how beautiful he is right now.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I want them to see Jones. That's what I care
Yeah.
about. Jones and
Yeah.
Trek. I want them to see the birds, the dogs on point. Any dogs that we're hunting with, I want them to see them doing their thing. And so, but we
Yeah.
typically have two cameras rolling so that we can capture one guy's on the dog and one's on the hunters. So
Now, the camera people that you're using, are they always people that have hunted or kind of people you got to teach a little bit?
yeah, the first few seasons we did, we had a crew, great crew who some of them had hunted and some hadn't. So there definitely was a learning curve there and they
Hmm.
did great. And then this year we used our Terra Media and they're all hunters. They're hardcore hunter guys. So
Oh,
they
nice.
understood and they do a lot of bird dog stuff in general. So they were able to
Okay.
really understand, you know.
Yeah. I bet that makes a giant difference when you're trying to
It it does. It
communicate.
definitely when they understand hunting and what's happening, and understanding, uh, don't walk too far in front of me. Don't don't or capture. You got to capture the dog. Please don't walk too close to the dogs. You might flush the birds. Stuff like that. But no, they're great and they understood. They're passionate hunters, so I felt like they were able to capture things that I don't necessarily think to capture, but they did. So it was really
Yeah.
good.
When you're, and if you're like me, I probably would watch it a few times, but is there something that you've watched back that just kind of has made a favorite filming experience for you?
Yeah, whenever there was some cool stuff, season 2 or 3, I can't remember. I was hunting sage grouse for the first time with my buddy Colton, and Jones was still pretty young, and Lincoln was still with me, and it had been really hot, and we finally found birds, and Jones goes on point, and your dog's he's on birds, and I walk up there and a big covey of sage grouse busts, and I brought down not only my first sage grouse, but it was like Jones's first sage grouse point, and so that was a special moment for me. And then I go on to shoot another one, and then Lincoln retrieves it for me, so I had two sage grouses from both first birds for my dogs, and so that was really special. This year we filmed an episode in Idaho where I was guiding some of I shouldn't say guiding. My friends were coming out to hunt, but they were relying on me. So, they'd never been to Idaho. So they're like, hey, take us hunting. And I was, I was actually trying to get them on birds because they had come such a long way and Trek is still learning. So I only had Jones and he had to cover a lot of miles in 2 and 3 days. And he just
Hmm.
absolutely blew my mind with how he found us like 12 coveys in 2 days and handled each one with precision and accuracy, and it was just amazing. It was such a proud moment for me to
That's
to see
cool.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm sure that's fun getting to kind of watch those things back and remember those hunts.
Yeah, and I didn't care about me killing birds. I was hopeful my friends would, and they each killed huns. They never killed a hun before and chucker, and it was really cool. It was cool to be a part of.
Do you ever notice when you're hunting at these high elevations, Do the dogs ever have a hard time with that like we do?
No, I don't notice the dogs ever do. I was a little worried about that. I hunted ptarmigan last year with Jones, and we were at 12,000 feet and above, which is no joke.
Yeah.
And I never noticed he had any issue. Now
Yeah.
we had issues. I didn't have any breathing issues. My camera crew was having a hard time, but 12,000 feet is no joke. I was worried about that. I
It
was
definitely
worried.
it definitely feels different at that
Hmm.
uh the elk I killed was at 11,000 feet, and it's like I remember bending over to quarter him and standing back up and being like, "Whoa."
Yeah.
you know,
Hmm.
it's a
Especially when
strange.
especially when you don't live here. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, PA is pretty much flat,
Hmm.
compared to anything out there. What do you think the weight to you of your responsibility in media and sharing it with the general public is, as far as shedding good light on hunting and upland
Hmm.
and telling real good stories?
Yeah. I want people to know the truth behind hunting and how passionate we are about it, and how hunters really are the biggest conservationists out there. And that's an important story for me to tell. And then it's important to hear what people want and what they don't want. And I enjoy figuring that out and just telling a good dog story to people. I think uplanders are some of the most passionate people out there, and it has to do with
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
dogs for sure. And so we try to accomplish that at Gundog for sure.
Yeah, you guys definitely do a good job. What do you think matters most to you about public land?
Well, public land is what I primarily hunt, so it's very important to me. And the fight behind keeping our public lands public. I understand that we need resources as well, but public lands are what make America beautiful,
Mhm.
and it's where our wildlife thrive. And if we start tearing it up and taking it away, we're never going to get it back. So,
Yeah.
um,
So this is a question I haven't really asked before, but there's so many people that use public land that are outside hunting and angling,
mhm,
that don't necessarily contribute. I won't say nothing, but they don't really put a lot of funds into it, or they don't. Well, why can't we use it for that? Or, what about those people? And what would you tell them? How would you tell them, hey, this is how you can help, even if you don't buy a hunting license or you don't
mhm.
belong to a hunting organization or whatever it happens to be?
Yeah, I think the fight for our public lands is so important, and I don't think I said I'm actually part of a board for Pheasants Forever for their new initiative. And conservation is kind of, I said, I'm just blatant about it. Like, it's kind of boring. It's boring. And we have to
Hmm.
figure out how to make it more exciting for especially the younger generations, so that they understand how important it is.
Yeah.
Because without it, we want to be where we are now. And without it,
Hmm.
we're not going to be anywhere in the future. And
Yeah.
so to appeal to that younger generation, to help them understand that fighting the good fight for these lands is what's going to allow you to continue to do this. And so trying to make people understand, actually, I'm the only hunter in my entire friend group. So this is
Mm.
an easy conversation that I have with them. And it really surprises me the lack of knowledge on the side of just recreational public land use, and how they don't understand simple conservation things, and what's really happening and what's going on. And it's kind of an easy fight to not fight. It's an easy topic to discuss with them because it's almost like enlightening them. And
Hmm.
so just to tell them, you got to pay attention to this because you're not going to be able to hike on this if you don't fight this. We have a huge problem here in Utah with Senator Mike Lee always entering
Yeah.
something to get rid of our public lands. And so luckily there's a lot of awareness here in Utah, but
Yeah.
just education, 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 making
Yeah.
them understand how important it is to keep our
Yeah.
public lands public.
He's kind of a giant tool bag for sure in the last 6 months. uh, I I do find it pretty crazy when I actually just went camping to a state park with my extended family, like my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law and some of their family, and they love like the raw nature elements and stuff. And I remember we were like hiking on a trail, and I saw a rock that was like, up above that, there's like a real nice bench, and I want to just check to see. I think deer probably go across there. I want to see if there's any antlers up there. And we walked up there. It was literally 100 yards off the trail, and they're like, oh, like, like there's gonna be, and it's a beautiful thing to see somebody kind of get off the path and
Yeah.
walk around into something that's a little bit more
Yeah.
raw, and then tell them like, yeah, like, I mean, of course, I think that trails and access roads and things like that are important, but
Hmm.
knowing that there is a lot more beyond just kind of a scenic view, there's a lot that goes into that woods on a
Yeah,
day-to-day
I've taken a
basis.
lot
And
of friends. I'm like, you want to go bird hunting? Like, there is no path, but I'll take you to some of the most beautiful places you've ever seen, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Like,
it's cool to see people experience that, but then kind of help them understand, like you said, yeah, like conservation's kind of boring, but these organizations are things that keep these places
hmm.
alive and keep them going
Yeah.
and kind of fund them.
Well, even at trying to make them understand, like Pittman Robinson, they don't even know what Pittman Robinson is, and
Yeah,
me trying to explain to them that with every license sale, every gun sale, ammo sale, we give back to conservation, and don't know if you know this, but other outdoor recreation people aren't doing this. Like I don't
yeah,
know if you've ever heard of the backpack tax that we try to keep putting on just regular outdoor gear, and they keep saying no, no, no.
yeah.
So
I've heard about it, and I think it's a great idea.
yeah,
You know,
and they will.
it's crazy to me because we can go enjoy these places, like everybody can go enjoy them even without a hunting license.
Yeah.
It's perfect. It lends to the ambience of the podcast.
That's the 2-year-old. That's Trek. He's barking at the mailman.
Nice.
Despite having a bark collar on, by the
Yeah.
way.
Uh,
Very Trek.
my two are still curled up on the couch.
Can you
Hey,
tell
buddy.
everyone that you're barking at the mailman?
You just wanted to say hello.
Keeping me safe in the mailman.
Yeah. Um, since we're kind of like on the topic of like the political side of things, and we talked about there has been a lot of protect our public lands, and I think that we still need, even though there's not a big bill on the table per se that's happening like it did. I guess it was in December, January, sometime around there with Mike Lee and public lands. Now there's a bill on the table for bird
Mm,
dogs called the Greyhound bill, and it
yeah.
might affect us if we don't do something about it. Can you
Yeah,
talk about that?
yeah, my old job, Sportsman's Alliance, Brian Lynn, he was my old boss. He said, "Hey, can you release information on this? It's kind of important." And basically it was snuck into the farm bill
Mm-hmm.
wording, um, in the farm bill that's going through the House right now, wording that's supposed to be regarding greyhound racing, but the loose language is talking about using live bait. And so
Mm-hmm.
that loose language, I mean, live bait is pigeons, tucker, quail, any type of anything that we
Yeah.
use to train our bird dogs. And so that loose language needs to be X'd out of there, because if not, it leaves the door open for essentially getting rid of our entire way of life in the bird dog
Mm-hmm.
world, in the bird dog
Mm-hmm.
community. So Sportsman's Alliance and others are working hard to try to get that language cut out. And of course, we all need to call our own senators to say, hey, get this out of here. And the worst part was it was snuck in like the middle of the night. That tip, politician
Yeah.
stuff, sneaking in the middle of the night. There was no public discussion about it, anything.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone, that Wayne Pacell is behind it at he's not with Humane Society anymore. He's with some other anti-hunting group. But
Yeah.
so it's under the guise of the Greyhound bill, getting rid of greyhound racing, but the loose
Yeah.
wording regarding using live lures is the problem.
Yeah. And there is something too about hunting over hounds, correct?
Yeah, well, it has and like hound hunting, greyhounds are sight dogs and hound dogs, so it's talking about like using any type of live lures, like whether that be a rabbit or
Mm.
the coon barrels, stuff like that. So it's going to affect not only the bird dog world, the hound people, any type of dog training that involves live lures at all.
Yeah, so everybody, you need to look up the bill, read it over so you know what it's talking about, and then email and call your representatives and fix it. We need to
Yeah.
fix it for sure.
Yeah, go
Because
to
it
go
is
to Gundog, go to our Instagram page. We posted a video about it, Gundog Mag.
perfect.
So
We'll kind of do like a little rapid fire thing here. What is your absolute favorite bird species to hunt or to shoot or to eat?
Chucker for sure.
Chucker.
Hardcore bird. Beautiful bird makes it challenging, and it's delicious.
Where those birds aren't are they native to America?
No, they're from Asia.
Yeah. They are a pretty cool bird, and I haven't actually gotten to hunt them in the West.
Hmm.
Actually, I don't think I haven't even used chuckers for training yet at this point. I've used pigeons and stuff like that early on, but they are a real cool bird. Do you have a favorite state to hunt? I
Idaho,
get you.
yeah,
Yeah,
Idaho.
Idaho.
Is a uh, Idaho is a great place for really all bird species. It's a little hidden gem for sure. Ton of public land.
Yeah.
Normally don't run into anybody. It's nice.
Is it your favorite place to hunt big game as well?
Um, yeah, Idaho, Montana, Utah. But yeah, it used to have more opportunity, a lot of over-the-counter opportunities, not anymore, but it
Yeah.
still has great big game hunting.
Yeah, it's getting harder to do the over the counter thing in the West anymore. You definitely need to
Yeah,
learn about all the preference points and that kind of thing. So
yeah.
it's kind of a weird learning curve, but hoping to get to Idaho for bears next spring.
Oh yeah.
That's
I've killed a
yeah,
bear in Idaho, and that is fantastic.
pretty cool
Buckle up. It's a hard hunt. Yeah, it's a
I'm
great
sure.
hunt. Perfect
Uh,
DIY hunt.
one of my buddies wants to do it, and he's done it once. He didn't fill any tags, but I'm pretty excited to give that a try.
Yeah.
Uh, what is what is a dream upland hunt for you that maybe you haven't done yet?
I'd love to go to Alaska with my dogs to hunt ptarmigan. I've
Mm,
been there to hunt big game and kill ptarmigan without my dogs, but I would love to take my dogs and hunt the backcountry of Alaska. I'm just thinking about doing this year, but I refuse to fly with my dogs, and to drive would take me like
couple
over a
days.
week.
Yeah,
And not just drive, but you're going to Alaska. Like
yeah, y-
anything happens, you're broken down. You're probably not going to see another person. So
yeah,
it's
y-
a whole different ball game.
yeah, for sure. What is your favorite hunting dog memory?
Oh goodness. Um, my favorite hunting dog memory might be Lincoln was diagnosed with cancer,
Hmm.
and I was told hunt him one last time and let him rest. And took him out hunting. Happened to be his birthday. I figured out he had cancer the day before his birthday, and I take him out hunting, and he absolutely kills it. And he makes this amazing cross river retrieve on this bird, and he acts like he's like 8 years old again. And I just kind of looked at him. I'm like, yeah, you're not going to be done hunting. Like, you're not done yet. And I continued to hunt him for the next 2 months. And I watched that dog do his thing with cancer in his leg,
Hmm.
for the next 2 months, including I shot this rooster and it fell down this steep, crazy, thick ravine. And Lincoln, of course, went right in to go get it. We got it on camera. And I'm
Oh,
thinking I'm going to
cool.
have to go down there and get him. He's not going to be
Hmm.
able to climb out because he had cancer in his leg. And he just went down there, came out like it was nothing. Like, that's my dog, man.
Yeah,
That's my dog.
isn't that the hard thing when they kind of slow down? They have those moments where they're like, there's nothing wrong. What are you
There's
talking
nothing
about?
wrong. Yeah. It was
You
crazy. I
know?
mean, it was a steep. I was looking at it going, I don't know how I'm going to get down this thing. And he just came out with his bird in his mouth like it was nothing. I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm always amazed. I just got a tracking collar for my dog, and I was
Hmm.
always kind of curious as to like we did like 5 miles the other day. And I'm like, I know I did 5 miles, but I really
Hmm.
wonder, and he had 15 on my five.
Oh,
And I'm
yeah.
like,
Hmm.
they're down 1,000 feet and right back up 1,000 feet
Oh,
in
yeah.
20 seconds, it's crazy.
I just went hiking with friends the other day. I took Trek so he could get some exercise. Just going on a hike up to a peak.
Yeah.
And we did 8 miles, and I asked my friends, what do you think he did? And they were like, like 12. He did 19. you know?
Yeah.
Like, they just don't realize.
We I always have him with me when I'm like out scouting for deer too and shed hunting, just a experience in the woods, and I like having him with me. And I
Hmm.
know we did like a 9-hour day last year, and I always want to know like how far did they go in that amount of
Oh, yeah.
time? Because
Now you're
when
gonna know.
yeah, when they start healing without you telling them to, you
Hmm.
know you know it was far.
Yep.
Uh, what kind of impact do you hope to have on the future of hunting and becoming a mentor in the outdoor industry?
I hope to have a positive impact. I hope that um my passion for the uplands and for these dogs really shines through, and I hope that we convey the right message and telling people what this sport is really about.
Mm,
And it's about these dogs, about these people, these places, and doing what we can to help conserve these birds and these wild places and wild lands. And I
yeah,
hope that I have a positive impact.
yeah. Callie, where can people find you?
Yeah, Instagram, Kali at Kali Parmley, KaliParmley. That's on Instagram, and then you can always follow us at Gundog Mag. We're the most active on Instagram and YouTube, so posting beautiful photos of dogs and videos and gear reviews and how-to videos and training videos and everything in between.
It's all good stuff. It's all good stuff. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on with me today and talk about the uplands. It's been awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'll talk to you.
Be out there.
Well, that's a wrap, everyone. Thanks so much for listening to this week's conversation with Callie. Check her out on Instagram at Kali Parmley. And go ahead and check out Gundog Magazine, Backcountry Hunter Magazine, and Wild Upland TV. You're going to love what you find there. The links are in the show notes. If you would, leave the show a rating and a review. It helps the show reach more ears, lets me know what you want to hear, lets me know what you like, what you don't like, all the things. If you would also follow the show if you're coming back to listen to more, it really, really helps me figure some things out for you. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thanks for listening week after week. This is InCamp Podcast.